Okay, so my persuasive speech is, our grades do more harm than good. And personally, I think that grades do more harm than good, because I think grades are a social construct, and I think that more kids nowadays and more teachers, like in school, like in especially like public schools with like government funding, they schools and teachers, teachers and students are more focused on just learning the material and being able to memorize it for a test rather than actually learning or comprehending what they're being taught. So, okay, so first, I think that GPAs or grade point averages create a false sense of learning, unnecessary pressure, and an inadequate form of feedback. I think they should be taken out of the educational system, but I honestly know that that's probably never going to happen because of just how the United States is run. I don't think that we will ever have that happen. But they create a false sense of learning in that students are more motivated to memorize. Students are more motivated to memorize material and get excited about getting good grades than actually learning, because they say, like, what's the point? Because after they take a test, usually the teacher just moves on to the next subject matter rather than keep building on top of what they already learned. They just move on to the next thing. So I think the students are more focused on that, and plus, being through the educational system and living in America my whole entire life, and Texas, I can say that the educational system, like, it's kind of repetitive. Like, when it's kindergarten through high school, it's repetitive, as in you always have, like, and being in Texas, like, you always learn about Texas government, United States government, like every single grade level. In history, it's always about Texas government, nothing else, no other state government other than United States government, which is mostly about like the 13 colonies and the Constitution, how it became about like that, rather than like learning about other states and what they went through to get where they are today. All we learn about is Texas government. So it's like repetitive in a sense that we learn the same thing, just like in a different format and like in a different way. And then also it creates a false sense of learning because they also don't teach us things that we need. Like, I think in the 8th grade, I took home ec only because I was supposed to, and we did like the whole baby thing or flower baby and stuff like that, which is one of the only things that I kind of remember from that class. But other than that, we don't learn how to do our taxes. We don't learn how to do like certain adult activities. And some people don't have a parent or like a guardian at home that can teach them how to do those things. So a lot of them get lost when they like go to college or move out on their own because they don't know how to be an adult or how to handle certain things because the school system never taught them. So another thing is the unnecessary pressure. This one I can relate to highly because I can say that being a top student and making good grades my entire life, I felt like there was a certain standard to me and that my parents had set on to me, considering that my siblings were never good at school and I was the only one that was good at school. I can say that I felt pressure, and especially from like those like teachers and stuff too, and to get into a good college and then I get a good career and like all that stuff, I felt pressure to always be the best and always make the best grades, because I felt like if I didn't, I felt like that grade or that number like defined me in a way, which is why I also think it does more harm than good, because it adds anxiety and stress, and it leads like your identification coming from a number rather than who you are as a person. And I think that I was more focused, like I can say like all through high school, I was more focused on the grade than actually learning. Like I can say that I was like, I can not tell you one single thing. Well, I did learn a couple things in high school, but like I couldn't tell you like off the top of my head. I actually have to sit there and think about what I actually learned, because I was more focused on making a good grade rather than comprehending it. And it created unnecessary anxiety, and I was always trying to be at the top of my class and everything. So I can see how other kids would feel that way too, especially in like households where grades in school is like always like a top thing, like a stereotypical thing for like stereotypical as in like Asian or Indian households, we can see where the pressure comes from there too, where their parents are always telling them that they need to be a doctor, they need to be at the top, or they need to be smart, and like all this stuff. We can see how most of them like end up coming out without stress, anxiety, or depression because they're more focused on school and grades and making their parents proud rather than actually doing what they truly love, which I don't think is a good way to raise a child or a good way to raise anyone or make anyone feel. And then I also believe that grades are an inadequate form of feedback, because I feel like there was this really good quote that I had found from Einstein, and Einstein once said that everybody's a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And I think this is a really good quote to go with the speech, because I think this shows that, like, obviously a fish can't climb a tree because it doesn't have like arms and legs, but a monkey can climb a tree because it has arms and legs. So I believe that everyone is smart, or everyone can do great things in their own matter, and I don't think in their own way, and I don't think the educational system is a proper way to show that, because like nowadays society says that you have to go to college, or you have to have a degree, or you have to have like a certain grade point average to do a certain thing in order to be successful, and I don't believe that that is true at all. And I say that now because I truly didn't want to go to college, and here I am in college, only because my parents believe that way too, because they're very old-fashioned, to where if you don't have a degree, they don't see you as successful, and I don't think that's the way at all. And there's actually like a lot of famous people out there that make a ton of money, or like really big influence, that dropped out of school or never went to a higher level of education because they just didn't like school. So I think that the education system makes people feel like they have to live up to a certain thing, and when they're not good enough to do something, or they're not good enough to be something. And I just don't think that's the case, because I think that school might not be everyone's thing. So that's why there's a lot of like trade schools and stuff, and there's like a bunch of things out there that you can do other besides school. But I think that society's view on always pushing school to be the number one thing for everyone is toxic. It's very toxic, and I don't think that it's appropriate, and I don't think it's fair to a lot of people out there. But I think it also like constructs a lot of people. It like makes them feel confined, whereas they have to like reach a grade, or reach an average, or do something like within those grade points. But like if we didn't have school, we could just be learning what we wanted to learn. Like even now, like we can outside of school, but like we're so we have homework, we have class, we have speeches, we have exams, we have everything, that like I feel like I don't have time to go and look up things on my own and research on my own, because I'm always trying to do things for classes. So I feel like it like confines people. So I don't think that, honestly, I don't really like the educational system, to be honest, because I think it does do a lot of these things, and I think that it's a very toxic way of living, and I think that it creates a lot of problems within society. And I think school should be a thing. I do think school should be a thing, and I do think that school is like good in some parts, but I don't think that society should make it as much of a priority as they are right now, because I think that the more that we confine people is the more that our society is going to be confined in small areas, and there's going to be people doing the same things over and over again because they think that that's how you're supposed to live. When in reality, I think that everyone has their own way of living, and everyone has their own way of getting there, and everyone's form of success is different. And a lot of people's form of success is not education, but the majority in society is, and I think that way of thinking should be transformed, but I don't think it will, just because of how America runs today.